Ik begin met excuses. En mijn excuses is vooral om de taal die ik ga gebruiken in mijn presentatie. Hoewel ik geboren en getogen ben in Nederland, en de naam Kees de Vos geeft het misschien al wat weg, ben ik al een jaar of 15 woonachtig in het buitenland, al mijn werkzame leven. Dus alles wat over werk gaat, wordt wat moeilijk in het Nederlands. Dus helaas moet ik naar het Engels gaan om mijn presentatie te houden. Mijn excuses, my apologies. I hope it doesn't cause any issues. If you do have any problems, do feel free to ask them in Dutch and we can take it from there. So yeah, as Yuri said, my name is Kees de Vos. I head up business consulting for Hybris, for Hybris software. I've been in the multi-channel and e-commerce space for the last 12 years or so. I was lucky enough to come to the UK and start working with a company, with a dot-com startup, who were one of the first ones in the UK to start working in the multi-channel space, linking the different channels online and offline. And over the years I've continued to work in this space, and over the last 5 years I've specialized in consulting, helping retailers, brands, manufacturers to set up their multi-channel businesses. Today I'd like to share with you some of my experiences and some views out of the UK and out of the US markets that we consider to be slightly ahead of mainland Europe and countries such as Holland. And hopefully by sharing some of those experiences you get some ideas of what multi-channel is all about and what does good look like in the multi-channel space. To give you a bit of background, Hybris, for the people who don't know Hybris, who have not heard of Hybris before. Hybris is the largest independent multi-channel software vendor worldwide at this moment. We are lucky that we have not been taken over by a large corporate giant. That gives us a lot of flexibility, gives us a lot of agility and a lot of enthusiasm to bring out the best possible products in this space possible. And we're doing that quite successfully. Our growth has been 60% year on year for the last 4 or 5 years. We've been profitable all that time, and we're really seeing our market reach being extended from Europe, where our heartland is. Our head office is in Munich, in Germany, and we are now going across the pond. We're going into the States as well as into the Asia markets. You may know some of our customers. In Holland, Vroom & Dreesman, Bijenkorf are 2 of our customers. In Europe, we work for Nikon, we work for Hennes & Mauritz, and worldwide, further afield, we work for a company called Kalahari, who are the equivalent of Amazon in Africa, as well as retailers such as Target in Australia and brands such as Adidas. So what do I do at Hybris? I really help customers achieve multi-channel success. So we are very aware that just selling a piece of Hybris to our customers is not going to deliver multi-channel success instantly for them. There's a lot of change that has to happen around multi-channel, around e-commerce, that is not so much IT focused, it's more business focused. It's about having the right multi-channel strategy in place. It's about having the right change management in place. It's the right business processes, procedures, etc. around multi-channel that will ultimately make multi-channel a success for your business. And we help customers achieve that, and we really do that based on our experience, based on best practice, based on what we have learned of running, projects like this for the last 10 years or so, dealing with 50, 60, maybe even more, leading retailers, brands worldwide. But that's not what you came here for, to listen to me ramble on about Hybris. It is more important that we have a chat about multi-channel retail and how that affect you and how that works. And I want to go back a bit before we start talking about multi-channel retail, because when I talk multi-channel retail with a lot of retailers and brands and so forth, there's a lot of questions that come out about, well, why should I do this? Why do I have to be in the multi-channel retail space? Why do I need to go online? And that's interestingly still a question for a lot of directors and a lot of board members. And I always start talking about, well, look at the world that you're living in, and that world is radically changing. And I'll take you through some of those changes, and hopefully it makes sense how multi-channel retail is a logical conclusion out of those changes. First and foremost, as consumers, as people, we are better connected to each other than we've ever been before. And the internet has been the main enabler for that. Internet connectivity is everywhere, you know, and it gets faster and faster and faster. And that means that we as consumers, with our mobile devices, with our laptops, so on and so forth, we are connected everywhere. I came here today, I jump on the wireless and do a bit of work and I browse the internet, and that's the same for all of us. And that means that connectivity, the fact that we're always on, means that our communication lines are extremely short. And when we want to know something, we want to see something, we want to talk to something, we do that instantly. The way we connect is also changing. We have a multitude of devices available to us when we communicate with each other, or when we connect through the internet. That used to be, you know, the computer at home. We used to sit down behind our desk, log on, dial up to the internet. But these days it's all mobile. You know, mobile access everywhere. It's getting faster and faster and faster. That means that there is less dependency to a fixed spot to go onto the internet and to connect with each other. And what we see is that the devices that we use to connect to the internet are getting adapted faster and faster and faster. When we talk today about the iPad, everybody is kind of like, yeah, an iPad, you know, like it's been around for ages. The iPad only was introduced May last year, April, May last year, so it's had a lifespan of 7 or 8 months, but we're already used to it. I bet you nobody knew, you know, what Android was, you know, about 12 months ago. And we just sort of like adapt these things, and we just, you know, as consumers get more and more used to that. So it's changing our life, it's changing the way we communicate. And that means that not only our business life start to play more and more in the internet, it's also our social life, our connections with our friends, you know, how we communicate with them is changing radically. And what you see is that all those social networks are popping up, and that be in Hives, that be in Facebook, that be in YouTube, whatever it may be. These are massive communities. Facebook counts 620 million users. 500 million of those change their profile, update their profile at least twice a month. 500 million active users. If you put that in the context of the size of a country, the size of other communities, only India and China are larger countries worldwide. We're talking about the 3rd largest, you know, community in the world when we talk about Facebook users. And not only are these large communities that are out there, and not only do we change the way how we sort of like communicate with our peers, if you compare that with this stat, it also changes how we build our opinions. If we build our opinions on those networks, it makes a big change for a retailer, because we want to be part of those networks. If you look at the top 3 reasons, or the top 3 influences on our opinions, and particularly opinion about product in this case, the first 3 reasons are part of a social network that may not be always online, but they are part of a social network, that be in friends, family, or online reviews. That's a big thing for a retailer to know, because not only is Facebook the 3rd largest country in the world, it is also the place where people make up their mind about what they are going to buy, or what they like or what they don't like. That's, if you're not playing in this space, that is a big realization. So as we go through this, we have connectivity, we have devices, we have social networks, we have all these developments that are going on outside of retail, and that's changing, however, human behavior, and it's changing the way that we want to buy, or that consumers want to buy. So multi-channel retail is not something that retailers have invented in order to be, you know, more sexy or more attractive to their consumers. It's something that is generated by the demand of consumers. And today's consumer is already in this process, in this multi-channel process, in buying products how they want, when they want, they want them delivered to their home, or they want to pick up from store. They're used to this multi-channel interaction with your brand or with you as a retailer. The same way how they interact with their friends, they want to interact with you. And that means that today's consumer, today's customer that you are dealing with as a retailer is already a multi-channel customer. Some recent research from a large advertising agency spread out of the US as well as Europe shows that 86% of consumers are already using multiple channels when they buy a product. That means that only 14% is that one consumer, is that consumer that is not multi-channel. So you're talking about the majority of your consumers here. You're already in a world of multi-channel customers, and you have to play in that world. What that means is, like, if there are so many different ways to shop available to consumers, that means that we also see a change in behavior on how people shop, and they are not very loyal to how they shop. They don't start at the web every time, then go to, you know, a call center every time, and then go to pick up their items in store every time. It changes every time when you have an interaction with a retailer. That means, you know, as a person I may change, from me to the next person it changes, from me to the next product that I buy it changes. So let's look at a purchase journey that we have here. Purchase journey for any typical product. We start with a catalog maybe that comes through our door. We'll look at the internet if the product is available to us or not. Get some assistance in the store and finish our transaction online. Get a delivery note through our mobile phone, and then it gets, we pick it up from store. We maybe have an issue with that product. We go back to store, and ultimately we end up talking to somebody on the phone. I mean, this is not the future. This is what's happening today. This is what your consumers are doing. And the interesting thing about this picture is that for the next customer, this picture is completely different. So as a retailer, where conversion of a browser into a buyer used to be a particular straightforward piece of work. They came into your store, and the only thing that you had to do was to convince them to buy from you whilst you had them in your store. These days, your consumer touches with you on so many different channels. So conversion of that customer into a buyer is no longer a single channel concept. It happens over multiple channels along the way. And as the consumer hops from channel to channel, there is a great chance that they leave, you know, your ecosystem and they go to your competitor. So the trick is to guide that consumer over all those channels and try to convert with you at the end of that journey. And the people that play in the multi-channel space, they're doing very well. The people that execute this well, and research that you see that's coming out, you know, really backs up that the multi-channel retailer is the more effective retailer. As well, it shows us that, you know, going forward, multi-channel is becoming the default, you know, operating mode of a retailer. This is not something that is new. It is not something that is going out of fashion. This is the new, you know, look and feel of what retailing is all about. And the point that I'm showing these quotes to you is not to kind of like give you the right percentage on how much more business you're going to do, you know, through multi-channel. It's just to show that how much evidence there is in this space to show you that multi-channel, you know, is working and is really the new shape of retail. So what are the challenges? As I already said, customer conversion is no longer a single channel concept. You have to convert your customer over all these different channels. Every time they hop, you want to make sure that they stay with you when they go from channel to channel. The problem with that is that as they use multiple channels, then it becomes harder for you to understand really what this consumer is doing. And because it's harder to understand what they are doing, it will be harder for you to influence this customer as well. And as with traditional IT systems, that are currently around, it becomes very hard to kind of like keep up with the change. And what people end up doing is so like adding on new channels, new technologies on top of that existing system, and that just compounds the problem of the lack of visibility of what's going on across those different channels. Organizations need to change in order to deal with multi-channel. Your marketing department, for example, in particular, they need to start gearing up their marketing campaigns in order to, talk to you across multiple channels to make sure that, well, this person has been on our website, how can we get them into store? Can we maybe give them a discount to come to our store, yes or no? And as I already mentioned, I think this is the future shape of retail. This is not just a phase that we're going through. So it becomes a realization of a lot of people to to start taking part in this. So when you, as a retailer, start moving into the multi-channel space, one of the key things to do is to put the customer at the heart of what you're doing. Customer centricity. And I think retailers typically have always said, oh yes, the customer is at the heart of what we do. We think about the customer, all the time. I think the sort of like the slowed uptake of multi-channel is showing that that is actually not the case. When you are playing in the multi-channel world, when you are playing the multi-channel game, the successful ones do truly put the customer at the heart of what they're doing, and they try to convert these customer at any time that they interact with you as a retailer. So what are the 4 key success factors in order to play in this space? One is consistency. Every time a consumer interacts with you, it has to be a consistent message. Everything you show them, product information, availability information, store opening hours, whatever piece of information it may be, it has to be consistent across all those different touch points. And not only does that information needs to be consistent, it also needs to be relevant. We have a lot of information that comes at us day in, day out, and if that information is not relevant to us, it is likely for us to ignore it. It's not just about simple personalization, and apologies for the somewhat crude way of illustrating this, but it's not just about we're showing blue to male and pink to female. It is about having relevant information in a multi-channel context. If I'm looking to pick up an item in store, I want to know the stock level in my nearest store. I'm not interested in the stock level in the distribution center or the stock level in the store that is 50 miles down the road. We also need to start looking at our information that we are gathering across all of our channels. Because as I said earlier, it's only when you understand the user's interaction across all those channels, you can start influencing them appropriately across all those channels. We just look at one channel, we may well, try to steer our customer in the wrong way. And it's only when you start understanding your consumer across those channels, you can start influencing them. That's when you really start playing the game. That's when you start gaining back a bit of that power that you have these days when somebody walks in store and you can just talk to them until they relent. And last but definitely not least, it's about flexibility. It's about being ready for change. Because as I said earlier, how the world is moving forward, it is hard to keep pace. So whatever you invest, whenever you look at this as an IT problem, make sure that you have a system that is agile, that is flexible, that can cope with the change that is going on. So I hope that was useful. That was useful context for what I'm about to show you now. I've taken 2 retailers, and I have to point out, I'm really not focused on technology here. I'm really focused on the business proposition and how these guys are going about their business. I picked 2 retailers. One I've worked quite heavily with, and I was lucky enough to work at the establishment of their systems about 7 or 8 years ago. The other one is a company called Argos. From the UK. The other one is Best Buy in the States. First company is Argos. Argos is a similar concept in the UK as you have here in Holland. In Holland you have the cake shop. which you walk in and there is one version of every product, and you go to the counter, you write down the number, go to the counter, pay, and somebody from a warehouse at the back gives you the item. Argos have taken this a step further. There are no products on show in an Argos shop. You have a catalogue that you can look at in the store, you pick your item, and you go to the counter to pay and collect. These guys started about 10 years ago to play in the multi-channel space. They started with a concept called click and collect. It's the concept where you reserve an item online, you look at the store stock if it's available, and if it is, you can reserve it and you can pick it up. And that was quite a revolutionary concept in the UK at the time, and they were the first mainstream retailer that were working on this, and they're doing particularly well in this space. 43% of Argos's turnover, which is nigh on over £2 billion, is directly multi-channel sales. A large percentage, well over 50%, so well over £1 billion of Argos's turnover goes over their website. If you look at Argos's proposition, multi-channel is not like a gimmicky part of their proposition. It is their proposition. When you go to an Argos point and a contact point, that being the web, that being store, that being call center, that being their catalog, they make it extremely clear that it doesn't matter to Argos how you buy from Argos. That being online, come to our store, call our call center, as long as you deal with us. And that's like, if you look at their website, store locator customer services, search by catalog number, which comes out of the big catalog book. Stock checker will take you straight to a stock checker where you can check not only the stock of distribution centers, you can check the stock of your local store. So that's one. The second one that Argos do particularly well is their proposition, their market proposition. And the market proposition is particularly clear. Value, choice, and convenience. And convenience really comes to bear in the multi-channel piece. If you look at their website here as an item, I can straight away, it's not about add to basket, it's about buying or reserving. So we bring in the decision, fairly early on. And when I hit the equivalent of the add to basket button, I can straight away see if this is available for home delivery or if it's available for store pickup or not. So straight away get some really useful information that helps me decide what I want to do next and helps me pick the most convenient option here. The first combined click and collect checkout process in the UK, again, take your pick, whatever is easiest for you. And when you go through this convenience or like order process, you get a confirmation on your mobile phone, you walk into store, and ta-da, there is an internet connected kiosk where I can type in my reservation number, it's there, I swipe my card, I pay, and I pick up the item. In this entire transaction, I've yet to deal with a single person if I don't want to do that. If I do want to have human interaction, great. And they're taking it one step further. Within the M25 perimeter, which is the highway around London, they deliver within 90 minutes to your home. I mean, that's convenience. And people say, oh, that's restricted, that's only a limited part of the country. Absolutely, but there's 4 million customers in that part of the country. So it's a big market. And this is really how they are pushing multi-channel and how they're pushing convenience. The second example I wanted to talk to is Best Buy. Massive company, $49 billion turnover. I think every retailer would look at Best Buy as an example for good practice in retail. And they do similar in multi-channel. Great service proposition, great multi-channel proposition. And I think it's their multi-channel proposition in particular that allows them and enables them to have almost 20% market share in probably the highly contested market segment of consumer electronics. They link offline with online very well. This is their catalog that they send out. You can look at it online on the website, which is great. That's not that complicated. The interesting thing is then you add to basket straight from the catalog. Nice little link between offline and online. The other way around, we talked about social commerce and the impact of opinions within the social space. The fact that we trust our peers more than the retailer themselves. What these guys are doing, they're taking their online reviews and they're putting them in their stores as, you know, as something to show their customers, you know, this is a good product. This is not Best Buy saying it. This is your peers telling you that this is a good product. They have a kiosk in store that allows the entire range to be made available in store, which is great. They've got a good loyalty scheme to track their consumers across different channels, as well as a payment method that again serves the right purpose. The interesting thing that Best Buy are doing as well is they're bringing the human interaction back into multi-channel, back in the online experience. If you have a question, and service is a big element for that as part of their proposition. If you have a question on the website, you know, yes, you can typically go and find in your FAQs and in your content, but actually they say, why don't you call us? Or why don't you, you know, have a chat session with us? The conversion rates in these scenarios are like 30–40% higher than what they would typically see. The reason, A, it is more service-led. B, you will deal with customers that are at a moment where they are about to buy. Pick up in store, they offer. I think more interesting is their approach to mobile. They link their marketing offering to mobile straight away. You can, you know, look at that barcode there, you can scan it with your mobile, and straight away you will get taken to the appropriate marketing page on their website to look at these products in more detail. But they go one step further. In store, they have added product content, which in itself is more what this information is more than what you typically find on a shelf edge. It's hard to see, but they've got the reviews, they've got an extended bit of product information, but they also have a barcode. In store, I go there with my mobile, I scan the barcode, and I can start looking at reviews for this particular product. I can start comparing it in store on my mobile phone. And that's great, and I then can, you know, maybe add it to my wish list and go back home and continue to shop. And why is this such a clever concept? Why is this such an interesting thing to do? In a good multi-channel system, in a good, well set up multi-channel system, this stuff is really not that hard. And the powerful thing about this is that we are taking a customer from one channel, that being in-store, to mobile, to their home website, you know, without them leaving Best Buy as an organization. So Best Buy are really working hard at converting this customer over multiple channels, and they do this particularly well. This is another thing that they do well. They value their multi-channel customer. This is what you will find in their parking lots. As you can imagine, it's a big box retailer in the States. They have massive parking lots. The multi-channel customer who has reserved for pickup for the reason of convenience, they want to do this quickly, this want to be easy experience. We have parking spaces, dedicated parking spaces next to the entrance of the store. So if I'm a customer, I drive up to the parking lot, I drive up to my reserved parking spot, walk in, pick up the item, and I drive off. And that's how important the multi-channel shopper is for Best Buy. Those are my examples, those are my things. I hope that you found that useful. I hope you find it interesting information. I think I've sort of like put a quick synopsis here. 5 different points that I think are important for you to remember. First and foremost, your customer should be at the heart of your proposition. You have to understand them. You have to really try and gather as much information across all those channels about them so you can start to influence them. Be consistent and relevant at every step of the way, and provide the customer what they want, how they want, and when they want it. Multi-channel is not just an IT question. It is a matter of change in your organization. You have to think, live, breathe multi-channel in order to be successful at it. And although that may be coming across as a sales pitch for my own services, but learn from experienced people that have done this before. It really will pay off. There is best practice in this space. There is experience in this space. It's sparse, but it's most definitely out there. Do not try and reinvent the wheel yourself. You know, play in this space and make it your own. that was my speech. If there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to take questions.